you were the bunch that trusted us with a whole house system idea at the beginning of the year. I think that at this point, I think most everybody kind of has an understanding of what's going on with the house system. It seems as if there's a lot of enthusiasm with that. One of the things that I just wanted to share with you this morning was what is it that we are hoping to do with 5th and 6th grade as they move forward, and why did we start a house system in 5th grade? And it largely was centered around two ideas. Historically, originally, about 6 years ago, Great Hearts was thinking that maybe 6th graders looked better down, or that they fit in better down at the top of the lower school, that there was a lot of struggle with being ready for the autonomy of middle school. So we tried an experiment at Northern Oaks with 6th grade being brought into the lower school, and I felt strongly that if we were going to do that, they needed to feel that there was some sort of special community that they were involved in, because they needed more than a 4th grader as far as how do I build community, how do friendships work when I've got a lot of different people that I interact with, and that there's a need and a desire, and I think it's even bigger now, since we're beginning that back end of COVID, is a need and a desire for purpose and meaning, and to feel part of something bigger than themselves. There's been a lot of isolation, and for students who, for young people, that is really difficult. And so the house system has been a way for students that don't necessarily identify with, I play basketball, or I go to a dance studio. For those students who don't have those things, they need something to feel a part of something, and there was no reason other than they existed that they got to be a part of it. A lot of children aren't a part of a church community, they aren't part of a YMCA community, maybe they're a military family and they're living here with no family. So what we created with the house system was a sense of family, and something to be a part of that didn't have to do anything to earn and deserve it. You were just a part of it, and then you got to find out, how do I help make this group that I am now part of strong, and how do I build it up? And so competitions, simple competitions that we do Fridays during the house activity, being a part of the intramurals. Lots of students come out for intramurals only because their house said they needed them, and they may have never played soccer or basketball before. That sort of camaraderie, and then being able to see older members of the houses. So coming here to Western Hills, my dream was always to see it through an upper school, because most of the research I had done with house system was around upper schools, where house systems were started in 6th or 7th grade and built out through seniors. And so that has been really fun this year to see 7th and 8th graders. They're a little reticent, and oftentimes they're not as enthusiastic as a 5th grader who isn't as self-conscious, right? But they don't like to be outdone. So when we have a pep rally like we did last Friday, we use that to our advantage. But we have a lot of them. They may not be, they may not shout as loud as a 5th grader. They're wanting and very interested in being committee members and helping to drive activities and taking responsibility. So the Winter House Festival that we had, that 5th and 6th graders were welcome to, where it was actually completely organized by committee members in each of the houses from 8th grade. And each of the booths was created from scratch with their own ideas, the game, the decorations, collecting of the things they needed, and then putting it together. And what we found was the build-up, the 2 weeks build-up to the event was the most positive 2 weeks we've had here at the school. And that the week after was like doldrums. It was the worst week we've had, and I wondered if it was because the buildup and the excitement around serving each other and building towards an event, instead of having, and we love you parents, but instead of having the parents come and put on an event for them, it was something for them to take pride in and ownership in. They were disappointed that it was over. And so it was really strange, because my thought was, well, it's almost the holidays. They were excited about that. But it was a really tough week, so we might push it back a week next year so that it actually is that crescendo of that Friday before winter break. So those sort of signs of course, it was experimental in the beginning to think, okay, is this really going to work? And so to see the students really rally around those sort of things, and as we move forward and grow it, our goal is the 8th graders this spring will have the opportunity to nominate themselves to be a mentor, and we will then train them. We're working on, we have a house retreat with the teachers in a couple of weeks, in which we're going to be talking about how does that all work out, what more committees do we want, and then what does the training look like for mentors. There's a Great Heart School that my own children went to in Arizona that had a mentor program for the upper school. So once you were a 9th grader, you nominate yourself, you had a teacher recommendation, and you were trained in how do you support a brand new student to a Great Heart School. How do you support them in several different ways, academically, friendships, getting involved in clubs, those kinds of things. There was a mentor retreat just before school started, and then they were assigned 2 or 3, either 6th graders, because 6th graders were new to the upper school, or a new student, to basically be their friend. So automatically, my daughter experienced it being a new 7th grader at this academy. She had a mentor, she was a junior, and followed her when she was a senior. They stayed close, and I appreciated it as a mom, because I remember one day my daughter coming home and saying, there's this boy, he keeps following me around, and I don't know if he likes me or something. She goes, he's kind of funny. And then the next day she came and told me, she goes, oh, my mentor told me that I needed to stay away from him, he's trouble. And I just thought, she was this older kind of sister person who helped her to know the ropes, talked a lot about how to keep her locker organized, how to get help during tutoring, when she was frustrated in a class and she was struggling, what should she do? They met every Thursday. So she and the other girl that was being mentored by her mentor, they met every Thursday. And then every 3rd Thursday, they didn't meet because her mentor was meeting with a faculty mentor. And so you could see them on campus because they wore a different shirt on Thursdays. And it was just this sense of pride that the upper school 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders had. And so my idea is not only will they be mentored, but they'll be keepers of the culture. So the culture that is initially started by teachers in 5th and 6th grade. So there's a lot of, because they have homeroom teachers, there's a lot of that house pride that's going into and talking about what it is to be a house member. So that's being built by teachers, and then we hope that then as 9th graders, they will be the ones that will carry it on. And so my idea is that instead of having some sort of student government where students are involved in leadership positions to tell the school what they'd like the school to do for them, they'll be involved as student leaders as serving the school and finding out what can we do to help build activities and ways to serve each other. We've already had one student come forward in 8th grade who has researched an organization called Hope Squad that is focused on teen suicide and wanting to, it actually has a training program for students who are interested in how to speak to their friends and then notify adults when there's a child in crisis. So our counselor now is looking into all of that so that we built a piece of that into the mentor program, and then she would be largely involved with that piece of it. So we're already starting to see some of those things beginning to take place naturally within our students. We have several 8th graders who've signed up to come and serve for the Fezziwig holiday office party that's happening this Saturday for our 6th graders. So those 8th graders are signed up to come and to serve, and almost every single one of them that's signed up is somebody who's already been a committee member for other activities. So super excited about that. So that's the exciting path that your 5th and 6th grader has as they move into 6th and 7th grade. The school will officially split next year, and K-5 will stay in the lower school, and 6 through 12 will be in this building. So all of your students are grandfathered into this building by having been here this year, so that's positive. The 5th graders will still be, we'll call them junior members of the house system. We're still thinking about how does their participation look, but 5th graders, when I had done before, 5th and 6th grade worked together, but a 5th grader and an 8th grader, they look very different. So the Winter House Festival was very obvious. Fifth graders are running around like hooligans, kind of being silly. And the eighth graders were very serious about their boobs, and you could just tell the fifth graders needed a little bit different activity. It was too slow for them.
If I can add, there were many eighth graders who come to me and say, they don't listen. And I said, welcome to my world. Tell me more. It was good seeing the tables turn a little bit.
Yeah. So two of the things so we talked about community. That was one thing that was important to building a 5th and 6th grade community. The other one was helping to build student habits of responsibility. And when I say student habits, a good portion of them focus specifically on how do they take ownership of their own academics. But there really are tools for life. So building that capacity for self-control, building capacity for not expecting everything to be served to them, and how do I take ownership, so how do I keep my locker clean? I'm panicked about the fact that I may not have enough time to go to the bathroom and get to my locker, so making those kinds of decisions. So 6th graders, we're going to have a conversation with 6th graders that third quarter is the time for them to show us whether or not they have the ability to be a little bit more autonomous. If they can do that, then fourth quarter, they won't be required to be silent at their locker. They will be basically, okay, so this is your locker break. You have 6 minutes. The clocks are there. An apprentice teacher will be in the hallway, kind of giving them a little bit of a time. You've got about 2 minutes left. But they'll have that opportunity to talk quietly in the hallway like a 7th grader does. But they'd be conscious of the fact that 5th graders are working in their classroom. So can they do that? And so we will gift that to them if they can demonstrate in the next month that they are not resisting teachers because right now there's still a struggle. They're coming in the morning and they go to their locker, and then they get distracted by a friend, and then they go to the bathroom, and then they didn't get everything they needed from their locker, and then they go to the classroom, and then they realize that from the board that, oh, we have Latin this morning and I didn't get my Latin book, so now they want to go back, but the bell just rang. And the teachers are in this tension of now the student's not going to be prepared, but the rule says they need to be in their seat. So working on maybe an influx of infractions over the next couple of weeks, just for them to reset and start to learn those sort of things. So that is our focus with 5th and 6th grade is some student responsibility. So I guess some of that, the next thought would be, how does a parent support their student as they go through this hard transition? And for many of them, especially if they spent all of last year online, this has been a tough year of reacclimating to the academy and having to be responsible for so many other things. One of the things that can be really helpful as a parent, and I know it's a really hard one, is not rescuing them when they fail. Because failure is the only way we learn, is by those mistakes, and the pain of that mistake is what helps us make better decisions going forward. So something as simple as a student forgets their homework and they leave it at home. They can turn it in tomorrow. They're going to get late points, but they can turn it in tomorrow. But if you drive up to the school and drop it off at the front desk, you're rescuing them from that sort of pain that happens. If you've required them to make their own lunch and they forget to make their lunch that day, they may be a little hungry. That's the only one that I will, as a parent, if you're going to drop off lunch, we're not going to keep your child from having lunch. But start to think about some of those things. What are the continual habits that your child is just not seeming to get? And I think that as parents, and I know this was a struggle for me, we feel as if we can save them from suffering or pain, that is our job. But our job really is to help them get out of the nest, right? And if we are constantly falling behind them and helping them, then they're not going to build the skills. And then all of a sudden we say, go to college. And why we have so many students in college right now who are struggling mentally with the separation because they didn't really get the experience of trying out all of those adult skills on their own, with parents walking around kind of cheerleading and making sure it doesn't get too far out of control. So I have a daughter who got married a year and a half ago, and I have a son who just graduated, and he is doing his foray into junior college, it is painful to watch it and sit back and think, he's gained a bunch of weight because he can drive a car and he can eat anywhere he wants to. When buying the food, and I just get a haircut. Are you really going to wear that? It's just the uniforms were fabulous. So I like the fact that at least I can be a reminder, but I'm having to shut my mouth, right? And so I think that it was parenting as much as a school is intentional. Parenting is intentional. What is the next skill do you want your child to learn? What do you think? I think they're ready for this. So then what do you set up as far as maybe you give them some advice and you start giving over some level of responsibility to them, and then you let them make the natural consequence mistake for that, or maybe you have to create a consequence for it so that they're going to learn the pain point of it. So because that's what we're doing here. So we don't run around with infraction slips looking for, no teacher has a quota. We're not like the police officer. But one of the things that we're looking for, if we say that you must be on class on time, then there has to be a natural consequence for that. So if you as a parent start to notice that your student is, what, you had another detention? You had another lunch detention today? Start to find out. You might find that their backpack is full of those little yellow slips that are infractions. And every fifth infraction, it turns into a detention. And we typically do it during lunch just because we've got tutoring after school and those sort of things. Sometimes if they have frequent flyers, then they get held out of the house activity on Fridays. And so then that one really hurts because they can hear people getting excited outside, they hear what's going on. So we're trying to build some of those things. So support from home will be really helpful in those things. And then maybe even asking the teacher, I noticed that he's got a lot of infractions lately. What is it that I can do to support what's going on? Where does it seem to be happening? Is it always first thing in the morning? Oh, we could get him there 5 minutes earlier. So just set him up with that. It's important to know that as you get more autonomous, that I might need more time to be ready for the first thing I do in the day if I don't get there right when I'm supposed to be there. So those kind of things can really be helpful. I could give a little preview as far as what it'll look like for 6th graders next year, and 7th graders. So our 5th graders really need, they still need a little bit of special support from some level of a homeroom teacher. So they're going to have a schedule that's just like 7th graders, and as the bell will ring, the periods will be just as long, but we're going to break up ELA a little bit differently, and they will have a teacher who will teach their ELA and history, and then somebody who will teach their math and science. So they will move between 2 classrooms, but they won't move as many times. We will offer Latin for those students that, and reading. So if a student struggles with the STAR this year, there will be a reading class for them. Because if you can't read, then why are you studying a second language? So we'll have that. And 6th graders will actually take drama. The drama that this year the 8th graders have was originally created for 6th grade, but since they had not had that opportunity, we want to make sure they had it. So 6th grade will get drama, they'll get a semester of that, and then they'll also get art. And 6th and 7th graders will be upstairs, 8th and 9th graders will be downstairs. So we hope that one of the things that we'll do is we're going to launch them a little bit slower than we hope that 5th grade will do a better job moving forward to prepare them for 6th grade moving about. So we're going to try that next year. Your 6th graders will be 7th graders next year. Will automatically be on. I have Lit Comp, which includes writing and grammar and literature. And then I have a history class that I go to. I have a science teacher. I have a math teacher. They will have all 6 periods with different teachers. So 5th grade going into 6th grade will have just a few less teachers. All of them will experience the morning break that right now currently 7th and 8th graders have, which will be a tutoring time. So they'll have first period, second period. They'll have morning break. It's half an hour. And they have the choice, we will be working more with our 6th and 7th graders along the lines of, you need to go to tutoring today. Whereas the older students, it's a choice and it's posted everywhere who has tutoring what days. And if your math teacher is offering tutoring on Tuesdays and you're struggling, then you should be going to tutoring. So really using that time period as an opportunity. And we also use it oftentimes where if we're working with house committees, we usually do it during that time as well. There'll always be Lyceum. That will be at the end of the day. We will be offering sports. One of the things we talked about with Coach Disney is we will be fully fledged into the TICSAL League next year. That 5th and 6th graders will always be intramurals for them, but a 6th grader will always have the opportunity to try out for the team that's playing at that time. So let's say that they try out for the cross-country team. Typically, anybody going out for cross-country makes the team, but let's say it's volleyball. Let's say that the 6th grader goes out for volleyball, doesn't make the volleyball team, then they could play the intramurals. So we will try to offer both options, so that there will be intramurals and there will be TICSAL sports for students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and the 9th graders will be our JV team. Coach Disney talked that we need a couple of cycles in TICSAL before we make an application to the UIL. She's got us on a progression. The fabulous thing is that by starting with intramurals with 5th and 6th grade, we're building a program with athletics that our students we won't have 6th and 7th graders who are for the first time trying out sports, that they're doing it in 5th grade. Mr. Orozco has been working on the soccer program. He had camps, and then he also has helped. We had enough 5th and 6th graders to come out that we have house teams for every single one. So that sort of enthusiasm is really, really powerful. It's going to really help our program. So that's really exciting. Questions that you all have? Yeah.
What is TICSAL or whatever you were saying?
It's the Texas Charter School League.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they'll play against other schools, like the 7th and 8th graders, and when you were saying 6 can try out for the team, so if they make it, then they can be a part of playing at that.
Yeah. And I know that other Great Heart schools, if they have a lot of students who come out for it, they'll make an A, B, and a C team. So it really depends on the kind of interest that we have and how many come out, because we can field more than one team.
So is it a 7th grade team and an 8th grade team, or they just play they play together?
It's a junior high, so kind of like a junior high
so
team.
it's all
Yeah.
I have a question. Looking at the TICSAL for the middle school, we would play other charter schools, I would assume. Once the high school, we would move up to UIL. What classification would we be competing with other schools with UIL?
So TICSAL is all the way through high school as well.
Okay.
So we probably won't be making our application until we've got, she said sophomores or juniors, just depending upon how we did in the TICSAL League. Coach Disney meets with the other athletic directors in Great Hearts, and she said that there's a lot of disappointment right now with where we've been placed as Great Heart schools in UIL. I experienced it last year as a parent. We had a baseball team, and we just, the division that we were in, I believe that we were 2A. Those schools were still big enough, that pulled from big enough areas in which the players that came out, we played baseball against grown men with beards. And we never made it out of the 5th inning because there's a mercy rule in the 5th inning. We made a huge improvement. It was amazing. There was a game where we actually, it was the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
It was fabulous, but we were playing against schools with facilities and coaches who'd been around for the last 20 years. I could have sworn one of the guys at the mound was chewing tobacco. So we played the schools from the rural areas, so it's farming towns, right? We played those, and so the disappointment there was frustrating. The frustration we've had with the TICSAL League is that sometimes they don't seem as organized, and you'll come out for a soccer tournament and the fields aren't very well chalked off. who's in charge here. I think our referee is here. You know, we won this game. What is our next round? You know, what's the next round? So they're working on getting that. From what I understand, the last couple of years, they're getting a little bit better as far as the leadership. So the fascinating thing about Coach Disney is that she has a lot of contacts with a lot of schools, and so that's sort of conversations that she's having will help us sometimes even get games outside of our league, and that's what she's been able to do this year with our Spartan teams, is get them some games. So we're super excited about playing Northern Oaks tomorrow, and she actually told them to bring their A team because our guys are that good. So
Let's not get out of here.
Diego, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's a grudge match.
no, and I think it's good and it's healthy, and I think the boys need the challenge. I don't think the last couple of games they've had have been enough challenge for them, and I want them to stay appropriately humble so that they grow. I think it'll be a tight match.
So we need to fill those seats tomorrow then.
Oh, we at our pep rally on last Friday, I basically told them, I said, this is our house. And I said, those stands better be filled with people from Western Hills, either in a blue shirt or your house shirt. I said, because I don't want there to be any room for those Griffins to sit. And I actually told them, I said, y'all know I came from across town. And I said, we're taking pride in what we're doing here. And so we've been talking about them as the big bad Griffins.
She's really serious.
And
Seriously?
when I change jerseys, I am serious about the home team. So
No, this
yeah.
is how serious our headmaster is. We have faculty meetings at 4:30. She said, it's 5 o'clock, I will leave that meeting. I'm like, great.
Oh, yeah. The basketball game starts at 5. We actually have a candidate in town for a math position for next year, and we told her we couldn't take her out to dinner until 7:30.
And we said, which hotel you're in, we'll come to you. That's how serious we are about this game.
Yeah. So excited just about the possibilities and how much our students are now feeling invested. One of the other things that we've started to see is students are invested so much in what's going on here that they are calling out behavior of other students and reporting things, not because they're tattletales, but because they're saying, I don't like what this student may do to my community because of the behavior they're choosing to make. And it's really effective. It's really, because some of those students have chosen themselves out. They've asked and gotten their parents convinced to leave because they got tired of constantly being in trouble. So we're cultivating a community now. Students are saying, not only will I comply, I love it here, and I don't want anybody to mess it up. And that's really exciting. Yes, you had a question.
I did. Sorry, I'm late. You probably
No, you're
didn't. What sports are we planning on playing for as far as teams go?
So we will always in the fall have cross country and volleyball. We'll have flag football for boys we're still trying to decide if we're going to do flag football. There is an interest in rugby within the Grey Hearts community. So Coach Disney has been looking into how that would work, and if Grey Hearts, enough Grey Heart schools did not get involved, was there a league we could get involved in outside of that? We do know that our sister school in Dallas, in Irving, has been playing rugby for a couple of years. So I said maybe we could work it out at least to have an end of the season game against the team in Dallas. That would be super fun. So we're looking into that. There's so much about rugby that is safer than tackle football. And every Grey Heart school here in Texas who have tried to play tackle, the injuries in a season alone just doesn't seem to make sense because we don't have the facilities or the ability or the coaching staff to be able to build big boys who can protect themselves and play appropriately. The flag football teams at Northern Oaks have done really well in the Tick-Sal League, but I thought, if we're a prep school, why are we playing sports that the big schools play. Why don't we play those sports that have been typically what prep schools play, things like lacrosse or rugby. And if you teach techniques correctly with rugby, there's far less head injuries and injuries altogether. So scrums and things like that are a little bit different than head-to-head contact in a helmet. So that's a fall. We will always have, so TICSAL does soccer. I think that the junior high teams play in the winter and the high school plays in the spring. And then there'll be basketball. Then there will always be, we're looking into, because of the YMCA over here, being able to do baseball and softball if we have the interest, and track and field. Right now, 6th graders are allowed to play or run for the track team, and they had their first practice yesterday. If you're still interested in the track team, you should let Mr. Chisholm or Coach Disney know for 6th graders. There are other sports that we are hoping to look into. Coach Disney would like to have a powerlifting team. She is a powerlifter herself, so she's looking into that. I would also like to have archery. We did archery at Northern Oaks for 5th and 6th graders, so it was kind of a piloted program. So I would love to see maybe archery brought in. So we do have interest in swim. It would be all about facility. Monte Vista has a huge swimming and dive team, so that's something that we've heard a lot of interest in. So Coach Disney is looking into how would we do that. We actually have we have a teacher who would be able to coach it. So we're definitely looking into that for sure. Yeah. We also we have talked about some individual sports that might be helpful. Something like golf. Or tennis, especially if we could use the facilities nearby. The problem is that as a small school, when you offer a lot of sports, what happens is that you only get a few go out to each of them, and none of them are strong. And so at some point you have to focus on those things that the school has strengths in, or you've got numbers of interest. So just like how we run clubs that students sign up for. If they don't sign up for them, then the clubs don't make. So we're certainly going to explore all those things that our families are interested in, for sure. Yeah.
I have like 3 questions. I'll just put them all at once. Going off sports, and as far as having the coaches and staff, what is your position on allowing a stipend parent volunteer, or even a just non-stipend parent volunteer for those competitive teams? If they take all the appropriate training.
Yeah. So
I know it's different at every school.
So we always look first to the faculty. It was one of the ways when I recruit teachers, I'm always asking, is there anything you coach? Is there anything you'd be interested in coaching? The reason why we always want faculty first is because they understand what it is what is the mission and vision of what it is that we're trying to do here. Because we're scholar athletes, we're not just athletes, and so we want that teacher who is going to make coaching an extension of the classroom, and so it builds our community really well. But oftentimes, to be able to do all the sports we want to do, it's important to bring in parents who. If a parent, we want to hire a parent to coach. He just has to go through the complete employee process and get fingerprinted, that sort of thing. So we have done some of that. We always want it underneath, though, a faculty member that is going to be, so if we've got 3 coaches coaching basketball, one of them's a parent, he's under the supervision of a teacher, so that there is continuity in what it is that we're talking about with students. So it's not outside the realm. I just ask that parents be patient with the fact that we're intentionally planning everything we do. So we're not just trying to throw a bunch of sports out there and just to have sports. We're intentionally planning it. So sometimes we're going to be slow. We're not saying no. We're just saying, can you wait? Because we want to do this right. We want to make sure that we've set all of the safeguards in place, and maybe the mission and vision of it, and have the ability to whether train our coaches or set those kinds of things up. And if we don't have the ability, the bandwidth to do it right now in this moment, then maybe we need to set that up going forward. A case in point, we yesterday found out that a group of people want to do a snack bar. Great idea, but who is the finance of it? Do we, we really needs to be a PSO leader of it, needs to be somebody who's going to be in charge of the finances, and then have a connection with the treasurer of PSO. And so we hadn't even talked, and the PSO leaders going, "Whoa, what are you talking about?"
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah. So I know that we're trying to do something short and sweet for this week, but it's not a no. It's a great idea, but I am responsible for how the finances are run at the school, and if I have, if the money's supposed to come back to the school or support the programs that we're doing here, it has to come through the right way. So, what my struggle has been, I want to make sure that we're doing things with enough bandwidth to support it and support it going forward. Sometimes it sounds like no, and it's not no. It's just, wow, we don't have the bandwidth right now to handle all of those things. Every single extra thing that we do takes away from something else that we're doing, whether it's academics or student support, all of those different things. So right now we are stretched to the limit with just faculty. Faculty being healthy, faculty, we've had a few people leave. This is probably the year of resignations across just education itself. People saying, I've decided education's not for me. While we're trying to, and I'm excited for all of these different things. I think that a vibrant community has many different facets of what we bring to families. But at the end of the day, the first and foremost, what we do is educate students and help grow their character. So if I'm focusing so much of our time on building great activities after school, then we're maybe possibly pulling somebody's attention away from the most important things. So patience is something I hope that everybody will give us. We've tried to do a lot in 6 months. I feel like we are a night and day different academy than we were when I came in June. And I hope that there's excitement in just that and where we've come. Because there should have been groundwork being done for the 7th and 8th grade. So what we put in place for 7th and 8th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade this year should have been slowly been built over the last couple of years. So I had to come in and do all of that. So patience will be really, really helpful as we build up. I don't want any 8th grader who becomes a senior to feel as if they didn't get to do all of those things. So I'm very conscious of that and making sure that we build things as those students come along and they get the same experience as the students who come behind them.
My second question is, you mentioned the split off with the lower school, and I know we'll have a new staff and administration team. Will we have a upper school PSO solely to focus on just the upper school children?
Yeah.
Will there be two?
Yes. We tried it, I've had the experience of trying it 2 different ways, where there was a separate PSO for lower, separate PSO for upper, and then there was one where we had a PSO president that functioned over both, and then they had 2 vice presidents over lower and upper, and because the 2 talked to each other through that one president, there were a lot of things that just meant that the right hand knew what the left hand was doing, because we're all on one campus. So if you've got a child in 3rd grade and you've got a child in 8th grade, and you heard that there is, let's say that there's a spirit day going on in lower school, and you send your 8th grader and you told him he could wear a spirit shirt, but it's not in upper school, then it's frustrating. So we try to put hands together on those things that can. There will always be. So my hope is to find a way to have PSO leadership in upper school and lower school, but there has to be a way for the 2 to talk to each other, because if there's a good thing going on, especially when we were serving teachers and things like that, it makes it easier if they talk to each other. Yeah. Yeah.
I just have a question, totally different. You mentioned about the sports. The other aspect that I wanted to ask was around music. One of the things that I loved the most was the winter concert, specifically the upper school concert with a lot of the 8th graders. mainly doing the recorders. When I was growing up, I sucked at doing the recorder. And listening to them, I didn't even think, you would never even think that that was a recorder. Do you have any plans of having some type of orchestra or some type of, strings type of class or club to be able to, for students here at the school to be able to enhance that? Because I think music is a big part of Great Hearts as well, so.
Yeah. So I know that Mignola has had quite a bit of experience at a Great Heart school that had been established for quite a long period of time, and as the music department was able to grow into different things. So there are a lot of different things we can do. Do you want to share some things
Sure.
that we could do?
Before I start with that, I know that historically Great Hearts has shown in 2 different sports. Don't kill me. Track and soccer. No one can beat us, so it's a lot on you right now. As Trinette said, for the ones that don't know me, my name is Maniola Coach, and I work as an assistant headmaster for grades 6, 7, and 8 here. And I started my career with Great Hearts in the year 2006 as the music teacher. I'll tell you something about the recorders. I am glad we don't teach recorders to 3rd grade because students at that age will not see it as an instrument, see it as a toy. It's plastic after all. And it needs a lot of breath control. And to understand what breath control is, that doesn't start until 5th grade. That's why most students, when they enter 5th grade, they start a brass instrument. And most often it's the trumpet because it's the easiest to blow into it. So 7th and 8th grade, students at the school, they take recorders, and one of the reasons is because they've been exposed to music since kindergarten. And when I say being exposed, it's not simply listening, they are learning notation, right? And if you have all this theory, how do you put it into practice? And recorders, believe it or not, if they're taught correctly, are the easiest instruments to teach. And that's why you get this quick, satisfactory response. Like you go to the concert and you go, oh my gosh, it's going to be a recorder. And then when you hear it, you go, oh, right? We would love to have clubs that are strings clubs or even a jazz club. But keep in mind this. The violin, you student will not learn in 3 months the way they will learn the recorder. Not even the piano. I've also been, when I worked, and I took a 5-year hiatus, I'll call it, I taught a piano class to a very small group of students, which was a club. And I realized that after even a year and a half, their piano skills were good for what they had learned, but not what I had imagined to be, right? I'm not saying we should stay away from it, absolutely not. If anything, put your kids into any music lessons because it enhances the way they learn to begin with. They're learning a different language. It's the language of sounds. Do we want them to have it in the future? Absolutely. Are we there? No, we're not. Keep in mind facilities. Keep in mind music is very much a specialized curriculum. I, for example, can teach your children choir. I can teach your children how to play the piano, and I can conduct an orchestra. But that doesn't make me the right person to teach your child to play a particular instrument. It's so specialized. So for strings, you're right, which means I cannot put the saxophone teacher to teach strings. He will not do it. I will not do it. I cannot do it. So we have to keep in mind funds and the way that we are growing at the school too. So that's why I tell all the parents, if your child shows an interest to play an instrument, put them in that private program. Do it because they will benefit. We had a lot of students, and I'm talking about when I worked in Phoenix, Arizona, they had joined the Phoenix Youth Orchestra. They had done that on their own, right? Because we didn't have the means to put such an orchestra in our school because kids were at different levels too. And it's going to be very frustrating for someone that has played the piano, for example, for 8 years, and they're put in an orchestra when kids just picked up the instruments 2 months ago. What are they going to do? They're not going to achieve anything except frustration and maybe discouragement that, I like to do this on my own. So trust me, I have fought Great Hearts against recorders since day one, and I have I have lost, and it's been a good loss, because the students have gained so much. If it was up to me, let's do the piano, let's do the guitar, and they would look at me and go, no, what are we trying to achieve over here to begin with? So,
Mr. Costa is doing a ukulele club.
I saw that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make it part of all of 8th graders do the ukuleles,
We did.
but our executive director shot it down. He said they could do it as a club, but that it was not part of
they even
the.
said to me, have you not learned your lesson? And I said, oh, I can always hope, so.
So it really is, we've tried strings with younger students where there was 10 students in the club. Each of them had to rent their own violin and came. It was hard because each of the students needed individual attention that you would get. That's why normally when you take music lessons, it's one-on-one with a teacher. Orchestra is something that once a student has had a lot of years of experience, then they come to that. So in the next couple of years, one of the things that we can do as we build this music program is find out what the capacity is and offer that as a club, and there would then be a requirement for you to audition for it. And because I know that Great Heart Schools has done like quartets, they've done a lot of guitar clubs and things like that, and then they might be the quartet that's playing in the lobby as people come into the music concert. To actually have all of those students play at a concert, it gets really long. I've been to one where the guitar club played 2 or 3 pieces on top of, you listen to all these people sing, and you heard the recorders. It got really long. So trying to figure out how do we incorporate all of those things. At the end of the day, we want all of our students to experience music, just like we want them to experience art and experience the PE and languages and all of those things, and then take those interests and maybe explore it somewhere else. We have students who, after taking the 6th grade drama course, have gone and joined the youth theater in anticipation. Of course, we have it again in their junior year for a whole year, and there might be a club, but they're really, really interested in, and we help foster that by giving them the initial dipping their toe into it. We are a liberal arts school, which means we are hoping to give every student the opportunity to touch and understand and grow in their understanding of something, that they can take it as something they move forward on.
And what I want to add is, this might be some sad news, but if you're thinking, if your child is in 6th grade or above, even 5th grade, and you say, what a good idea to pick up the violin, they will not master it. I am so sorry, they will not. Violin has to start at the age of 6. It all has to be a part of in your hand and the way you use it. By 5th grade, everything is set in your hand. You can pick up the piano, you can pick up the guitar, but not the violin. Personally, what I would like for our
She goes,
don't waste
"Give
your
up."
money. I'm being
That's what she
honest.
just
Do
said.
not waste your money.
Oh, man.
You can do.
Here's my dream, not for my kids. My own personal.
It was one class that I failed in college, violin. I did. My wish is that we do compete on a choir level. That is taking place in Great Heart Schools in Arizona. And so that choir program, if we build it the way that I imagine that we can do it, we can compete anywhere in the state of Texas. And that will get more attention on who we are.
I think the question was not more of immediate, but I think, I like your answer, Ms. Keffer, was around the long-term building up to that. Because, we're not a big school, we're not gonna be a big high school or anything like that. But I can almost guarantee there's a lot of bigger high schools that there's a lot of students that have never picked up an instrument. And then they put on a concert, probably not a master, but they put on a good concert, and they have a profound appreciation for music. And studies have shown having music incorporated, playing the strings, and reading music has been an important part with learning and part of the education. So I think my question was more geared towards a longer term. You mentioned quartet and everything else, so but I do think that if we build to that, I think there is a possibility.
Absolutely.
So, but like I said, I was blown away at the recorders. I had to double check if that was a recorder
Or a flute.
or a flute or anything like that. And so I was just, amazed, and the 8th graders did a phenomenal job at the, at the concert.
And the 7th grade.
And 7th
Yeah,
grade,
7th
yeah. Yeah, they did great.
Yeah, yeah. Yes?
I was excited with the ukulele. Only because my oldest already kind of spoiled this. She's about to go to college and she's really good with music. But my question is, if we're signing them up for sports and we still don't know when their practices are going to be, and then I'm interested in signing up my son for the ukulele club. Are they able to maybe work and miss practice or half of the practice so they can still participate in clubs while they're in sports, and they can do both, or should they wait?
So that's something to check with Coach Disney. She has done a lot of work to make sure that students have the opportunities to do as many of those things as they can. At some point, they're going to have to pick and choose. If the ukulele club is in the middle of soccer practice and there's only 2 soccer practices a week, it makes it difficult to play. But definitely contact her. I know that the days are already set for ukulele. Yeah, so I think she just opened for spring sports.
Yes.
I know there's flexibility, and I think they've already put out the days for track, so it'll be basketball for 5th and 6th grade. But typically it's twice a week. So I would just reach out to her and see if we're working on the calendar, and she was wanting to see, trying to remember what it is. She told me the other day what it was that she was waiting on before she set her dates. She's reaching out to see if she can make some games depending upon what soccer does for 7th and 8th grade.
Thank you for the consideration of all the extramurals. On the note that I would like to ask you, how can you give us advice as parents where we're trying to maintain our children to keep good grades, have a long day, take part in all these wonderful activities, splitting the activities, like really giving them as much as we can without overwhelming them, but then going home, doing homework and having family life? What advice can you give us? Because as a student, I see his grades went down and he couldn't play sports. So what was the purpose in this? What advice can you give us to help?
Yeah.
Some kind of balance.
And this is a really good question. We've noticed that a lot of 5th and 6th graders are not taking advantage of Lyceum. Lyceum is a 25 to 30 minute period in which it is quiet, and they have all of their homework. They have their homeroom teacher who's there to support that. The math teacher is available if they have questions, and a lot of them aren't using it. So the teacher is making sure that the room is quiet, but there's a lot of students who are maintaining quiet, but they're not doing they're not doing any of the work. They're choosing not to. And so that is number one. So if we're thinking that there's supposed to be an hour and 15 minutes of homework for a 5th grader, max, it's not always have to be that much, and if they were to apply themselves during their Lyceum, they can cut that down considerably. The other time is that the teachers do give work time. So let's say that's math class, and now she's given out the homework assignment and she's given them 10 minutes to get started on the homework. A lot of students aren't choosing to use that time. They are just using a lot of distractions in the room. So one of the things that Ms. Mulder and Ms. Kochian are working on is a Lyceum reset for our teachers to help them reset it with their students, and with the help of the apprentice teacher, make sure that they're circling the room and not allowing the students to choose something other than homework. Because a lot of them are pulling the book out and they're reading a book, or they're drawing, they're doodling, they're doing other things. They're quiet, so they're not bothering others, but they're not making the choice of doing that. We have a catch for students. It's called Homework Club. So we have students so if a student comes first thing in the morning and does not have all their homework done, the apprentice teacher checks in all the homework, and any student who did not turn an assignment in, their number goes on the board, and basically it's a signal to them that when our first recess comes around, you will be staying in to finish that homework. We're actually hearing students say things like, oh yeah, I didn't do my homework last night because I just thought I'd stay in for homework club. But they're planning that in, but there's not enough time, because by the time students leave for recess and they get their stuff out, they've got 20 minutes to work on that assignment. It's not enough time. So we're having students make that decision as well. So they need to finish their homework at night. The other one is that if you feel as if your student is struggling with homework and you know they have attention issues, chunk the homework and use a timer, a kitchen timer that goes ding, the one on your microwave, but chunk it in 10 to 15 minutes. However you know your child's, their attention span is 9 minutes, then put it on there for 9. You say, get out the hardest thing, the thing you dislike the most, get that out first. You're gonna work for solid 9 minutes without distraction, and then I'm gonna give you 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I always made my son take a lap in the cul-de-sac. He just needed to go run the lap, he came back, we turned the timer back on. If you concentrated amount of time, really focus, they'll get more done. And sometimes students, just especially for a long day, they need it chunked. And they need to be able to take a break for a minute and come back to it. If they gave you 3 chunks of 15 minutes, they could get all their homework done versus an hour and a half to 2 hours of half the time they're going to say, hate this, and they're not really paying attention. So do that for yourself as a parent so that you're not also battling. And I think that if they see that it's not this big pile of homework, but I'm just doing this first and then I get a quick break, that could be really helpful. Biggest thing is students are not using their time wisely here at school. And teachers at some point, they cannot put a pencil in kids' hand and write for them. And that's literally what we've come down to. I had in a parent meeting where she said, literally, I stood over him and I encouraged him and I was his cheerleader, asked him if he needed help, asked him to tell me back what he was supposed to be doing. He knew what he was supposed to be doing, but he simply was just not going to pick up the pencil and do it.
In addition, notice the trends too, at home, agenda, for example, because that agenda tells you what their organization skills look like as well. We have a good number of students, they write their homework on the agenda, but they don't actually bring the homework at home. And then you're stuck in this never-ending vicious cycle with your child. And then, of course, you're going to be frustrated as well. So look for those trends. Which homework do they particularly bring? Because they're also trying to avoid it. Or, and this is genuine, students think they have done it. They get really surprised and say, oh, I thought I did this. So they're not trying to trick you. If anything, their own minds are tricking them. And communication with teachers is really, really helpful. You can say, I'm noticing that Maniola is not bringing this homework at home. Can you help me? And we can do small things like that. Especially in grades 5 and 6, because we're seeing those trends when the student that will do the homework, no matter what, they will do the homework. But then you'll have the ones in the middle that they'll pick and choose. And then you have the ones that, oh, well, I want to use homework club. Oh, well, I will take the 0. And then there's nothing you can do as a parent. You had your hand up first.
I'll just add to that. My oldest is in 8th grade. When they do Lyceum, have them do the things that they struggle with in Lyceum because there's help there.
There's help.
Like my son struggles with math. So every single day during Lyceum, he gets help during math. And he gets math done and then he flies through everything else.
Yeah.
And we don't do homework until usually right before dinner or after dinner.
Okay.
So they have a whole hour and a half to go play and go do whatever it is that they want to kind of decompress from the day, and then we sit down and do it. So do the hard stuff at school. I'm not good at math either.
Like you said, you were really ballsy with 5th and 6th
gotta
grade
avoid that.
for them to rather sit and do it opposed to doodling.
Yeah.
You're going to look at doing that for 5th and 6th grade.
Correct, but it would be
Okay.
really helpful for us if there was a consequence that you had at home for them. That if they're not, hey, show me what you did in Lyceum today.
Okay.
Wait, you didn't do anything in Lyceum today? So looks like and if you tell them, do your math in Lyceum. And if you have any struggles on any questions, I want you to circle them and ask to go see Miss Ornalis if he's in 5th grade. And he can go and see her. If you know exactly what's happening at school, like, oh, mom knows what's going on during Lyceum, and I'm not doing that. If you feel as if they're not bringing things home, tell them to bring everything in their locker home. They should have at home with them. If they're doing math, they should have their math workbook, their math textbook, a math spiral. The math spiral has notes with problem examples for every single thing they're doing in class. If you're doing math with your student and you're thinking, I see see where they're going with this, but I really don't get it, I didn't learn it this way, you don't need to reteach them. You can write a note in the agenda, you can circle something in the workbook and basically say, we worked through this, and the examples in their notes, I couldn't help them. And then the student and the teacher have an opportunity, and she'll pull them aside for that. That sort of communication keeps a consequence off of him for just not doing it, and then it also signals to her he's got something that he needs help with. If you do a reteach at home, the teacher doesn't know that your student is struggling. So don't, and then it also can cause a lot of this between you and you're like, "Argh!" So don't make frustrations at home. Yeah.
You had a.
No, I agree with the chunks. With my son is like his anxiety when it comes to grades and his own expectations of perfection. He did sports, and of course he knew, and he's like, grade hearts is a lot of pressure with homework. At least that's how he felt. It's coming from public school. But he just learned to work a little bit when he got home, and then he would wake up early to finish it. And nobody can touch anything on the table that he sets out, because as soon as he wakes up, he washes his face, does whatever he needs to do, and then he knows, Mom, sign this, I still didn't get it, I still didn't finish. And he also knows that I have options of, if he forgets something, the Facebook groups with parents, we post, can you please give me the math homework or the reading assignment? And that helps him too, just to know there's other options than just waiting, because he's horrible at waiting. Like, he feels like, if I get to school and I still don't have enough time, then it's still gonna be late, or I'm still not gonna get it. But there's other options, or emailing the teacher ahead, like Ms. Keffer said. So I think there's just a lot of options to not let them fail and feel like it's too much for me.
Yeah.
Give them tools, as the teachers are giving tools to them in the classroom, and support each other, right? I have been in education since 2001, and I see more often than not that homework has become an optional thing for students. And if we put homework as optional, then I do not know what we are going to achieve. Because also families, I've talked to families that they think magically college will take care of everything. No, you gotta gain all the skills as you're growing up, so you are prepared for college.
There's a couple things you should expect from your teacher. The teacher should be giving them a study guide a week before a test.
Yeah.
There should be some, I know 7th grade is doing some specific things, but they should be being encouraged to make flashcards for the things that are in the study guide. They should be using those with you to study. You should know, so a week ahead of time before a test is coming up. But homework should also be, is either batting practice or it's preparation for the next day. So if you ever feel as if an assignment is just busy work, please, just ask the teacher, what was the purpose of this assignment? So when we talk about the fact that homework is directly connected to their success in the classes, because if you want to become a better baseball batter, you have to go to the batting cages. So if you want to understand math, then you have to be able to prove to yourself that you can correctly move through the process of solving that problem more than once. And those sort of batting practice, those Spalding words, the batting practice that happens there. If the student is just copying the words, they're not practicing appropriately. Spalding is going to be dictated to them. Copy work, they're just writing things 10 times each. With spelling, that is a whole language idea, memorizing words. Spalding is trying to teach your child the tool of what phonogram was I supposed to link with the last letter. So if you dictate the words to them and you check it quickly and they get 2 wrong, you say, you didn't spell this one correctly, here's how you spell it, tell me why. Oh, that's right, the teacher told us that it's not the of her, it's the her of.
Don't look at me.
It's the of nurse. So,
yes, thank you.
So they will tell you. Yeah. Yes.
So it sounds like there's a lot of great resources for kids who may be struggling or needing extra help. What resources do you have available for kids who are bored in class because they're not being challenged?
So typically with a student that is bored, it's usually not all the subjects. There's usually always one that's like your easy subject. It's sometimes going to be difficult to stay engaged because it comes to you really quickly. If if you feel as if your student is bored, I would have definitely a conversation with the teacher, because the teacher likes to use students who things come to them easily as one of those people that either helps another student in the class when it goes to individual practice time. They're their go-to person to maybe explain something. Why don't you come to the board and explain why this word in the sentence is a direct object and not an indirect object? So trying to find those sort of things that help challenge them. If your student is not feeling super challenged in 5th and 6th grade, it will get far more challenging. So just because they're not being terribly, you feel as if they're bored right now, it doesn't mean that that's going to be the way it is going forward. A lot of these are basic skills that they need, and for some students who caught on early, let's say that they were reading before 3rd grade, and they got a math fact program, so math didn't come quite as hard to them. Everything escalates when you go into 6th and 7th grade, as far as just keeping up with the amount of teachers and the amount of homework that's coming, and the concepts get much more difficult. I think that sometimes for students in 5th grade who need some sort of challenge, it's because maybe they need a hobby, maybe they need challenging as far as what book they're reading. I had 5th graders when I taught 5th grade that always had a book in their desk, and as soon as they were done with individual practice, that book came out, and that was their challenge, and it was on a higher reading level than a lot of their peers, and they were enjoying those sort of books. Our teachers are growing in 5th and 6th grade. We started out the year with every teacher in 5th and 6th grade was brand new to Great Hearts. A couple of them had maybe 1 year of experience. We had a couple in 6th grade who had a couple years of experience, but the Great Hearts curriculum was new to them. So for them, it already was a challenging curriculum compared to where they had taught before. So as they become stronger in the content of what they're teaching, they'll be able to find more ways to make it enriching. So thank you for your patience with our teachers this year in 5th and 6th grade. They are really working on fully grasping the depth of the curriculum itself.
And I also would add, look for the quality of work in your child as well. I have taught a lot of kids that were very smart and advanced, and everything made sense in their head. And then I would look at the quality of the work, and it was dismal. Not because they didn't think it was important, they just thought that my teacher will understand what I'm saying. And so sometimes it is good to even practice the skills of speaking well and explain what you have learned as well. And of course, there are cases when your child is so far advanced that we have to think of the future too, right? Because we don't want to hold them back either. So we're looking at a lot of factors here before we make the jump or the assumption, well, you need to skip a grade. We have to look at everything. So I always look at the quality of work first. Yeah.
I know y'all have brought in teachers to help out students who may be needing extra help in math and whatnot, and I was curious if there are any plans of help giving other students a chance to do more things that may be more enriching for them as they're, because I know it's hard for teachers to teach to a group of students that may be a wide range of where they are. And so I was just curious if y'all are going to bring in anything for those who maybe aren't ready to skip a grade, but do need a little bit more than what's being provided to them right now.
Like a gifted talented program almost.
So Great Hearts is a gifted and talented program. So we specifically feel that it's inhumane to separate students by ability levels. So for a student who is remedially behind as far as reading and math, it behooves us to help get them there so they can reach our curriculum. But gifted and talent, I worked in a gifted and talented program in public school in Arizona. Typically what is added to a gifted and talented program is just a lot of fun projects. It really wasn't moving on to another level. A lot of the other parts of the gifted and talented program was all about speed through the content and not depth. So I always say that a student makes the education themselves. And if your child is taking science and feels as if I know all this stuff already, then he needs to be at the library and be getting books on those things and doing further study. One of the things we want to give our students is the tools for their own self-study. Charlotte Mason, who is famous in the education world, specifically around liberal arts education, she was self-taught. She found herself at 16 years old without an education, and she was completely 100% self-taught. What we hope we're doing at Great Hearts is sparking that interest and desire, especially in some specific areas, to students, and then it behooves them then to go after it. So we hope that if a student is not struggling and getting through the curriculum quickly, when they're at home, they don't have a lot of homework, that's giving them the opportunity to do study in other areas, because we're not going to give out busy work. And I felt the most gifted and talented programs just created funner looking busy work that we gave students. So one of the things that we like about a Great Hearts classroom is that we don't separate smart people from the ones that are struggling, because at some point there's always going to be something that you're taking that's going to be hard, and the conversations that you hear if you are struggling, when you hear one of the students who is moving quicker through it and understands the questions they ask, benefits the lower student, and the ability for the higher student to answer a question that a lower school student has deepens their own knowledge. So what I'd like to think is that if a fifth grader is getting through the work quickly, doesn't have a lot of homework, then they have all the opportunity in the world to be investing themselves in their own self-study in the areas in which fascinates them, instead of making more dioramas and you know, lap books and things like that to turn into a teacher. Yeah.
No, just as a parent, just because my oldest did, and we're coming from public school. My oldest got skipped a grade when she was in pre-K. She went to first grade. As soon as she got to first grade, they tested her for the gifted and talented program. She was still bored, and that's when she picked up the guitar, because we did private guitar lessons and karate. So we figured out that she wasn't really just needing more academically to be challenged. It was also just her talent. She's just a gifted child. And now as a mom of 4, I can see how she has more of the talented, she's really good academically, but she just needed that talent to come out, I guess. And so it's not always just at school, because I think Great Hearts is a great school. This is our first year, and I have 2 kids here. It is very advanced compared to a public school system, completely, because even I was like, this is a lot. But I can see in 6 months from just my first grader, who was last year in kinder while we were at home, suggested to get tested into a gifted and talented program. Like, oh, I really sucked as a stay-at-home mom teaching. That's how I felt with that pressure. But I think sometimes we just gotta kind of let the kids or the teachers help them here at school, and then we can challenge them more outside, because it adds more to that pressure of just learning. Like, I'm not doing enough. And that's just, as a parent, that I've gone through that. Because my daughter, when she got to middle school, is where we saw the difference. And then we're like, we can't take back skipping her grade. It's too late. Because then socially and physically, I mean, or academically, they are not there yet. So it is a lot. Like, we see all this talent that they have or how smart they are, but then we kind of push them a little too far, I think, sometimes. If that makes sense. Just experience as a parent.
Classes, but 5th grade is going to be transitioning, or already has been transitioned to morning break.
We're already running.
So, yeah, that's
Typically, I like to take you to just see a few minutes in your child's classroom, but we have open house coming up in just a couple of weeks. Open house signups will be going out next week. You'll be able to sign up for 30 minutes in the classroom. You can sign up for 30 minutes in your homeroom classroom. You can sign up for 30 minutes in the math classroom. Because the math teacher will have their own sign-up genius. You could sign up to be in the PE class. You could do as many of the 30-minute chunks with a different teacher. But there'll be 2 chairs in the back of every classroom. You'll sign up for a slot. You'll come in. You'll go and just sit and watch. You're not going to engage with your student, just so that you can get a sneak peek into what it is. What is the dynamics of your child in the classroom? What is it being taught? What's the community going on? Love for you to take advantage of that.
Would we have an opportunity to sit in the, like, I have a 5th grader, could we sit in a 6th grade class to get an idea of what they're gonna expect next year?
No, so this is just parent open house, sorry, for your student. I don't want to take away from the time that the sixth grade parents have in the classroom. It's going to look so different in sixth grade next year, the way that we're structuring it. Right now, we've got homeroom teachers teaching all the main subjects, and we're going to break it up a little bit differently. So the curriculum is the same, but just slightly different. Yeah, so we wanted to focus on that.
One more academic question. Are there any plans for a science fair in the future?
We actually were talking about that in connection with maybe the independent study project next year. Oh, God.
So seventh grade, Mr. Chisholm did assign students to come up to choose between 3 experiments, but they had to show him why they failed with pictures and why they succeeded. And it was interesting to hear how students succeeded in dropping an egg to the floor without breaking. And these kids did their research and had to do with the wind, and they created little balloons out of thin paper. It was amazing. So yes, that would be great. But this was just 7th grade, and I enjoyed their presentations because these kids had this look of resignation followed by "I triumphed."
I was just curious if we would ever do like a school-wide, like open up to all the grades so that they're all getting familiar with the scientific method and coming up with experiments and whatnot.
Right, so we do teach the scientific methods. I know that there's hints of it moving through the grades, but in 5th grade is the first year where they're really introduced to the scientific method. In 6th grade, they talk a little bit philosophically of where was the history of and the creation of the scientific method, because they start with the ancient philosophers and they talk about where those people, those philosophers, were they wrong about how they observed the world, and now we're right. And we talk more about the idea of, well, they only had so much technology, and they were only had observation skills. So what technology has done for us is correct mistakes, but it wasn't because wrong. But then talk about the scientific method. So then now they're applying the scientific method as they move forward. So it's something we want to look into. So scaffold, there's several things that I took off the list that I wanted to do this year, because every new thing that we introduce to our classroom teachers is another thing that they're responsible for. And right now, I wanted to do a spring reading challenge, but just the simple process of building it and explaining to teachers how to do it, monitor it, and properly reward it was going to be more than I think they can handle right now. So all those things in good time, but it's something that we're having a conversation around, so that we could. So we're trying to figure, like, is there a way to, if we put it with the winter break or the independent study project, then we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If we made all of them scientific projects, a lot of the grades have a scientific project, but not all of them. So that's where we were brainstorming around. Yeah.
Not to add more things, I know we talked about sports and strings, and those are all things that my kids are interested in too. But within our community, we have a lot of girls right now, not a lot, but we have a group of girls from Western Hills participating in a folklorico dance group. And I think it flows really well with our community, and it would be amazing to be something, as a either club or activity to join with staff sponsorship, obviously. But I just wanted to throw that out there, like, I could see our girls performing at our own fiesta event. I could see our girls dancing to a song at concert. I think that would be really cool.
With our very own mariachi band.
I don't think that's a joke. I think that's legitimate.
But
No,
I mean, I'm throwing it out there because we have moms who go to those practices every week, and I mean, I could do the routines. I've never been trained to teach folklorico, but if the staff sponsors, like, we have moms that, there's another mom that knows the dances better than me. I'm not going to throw her name out there, but
Is she in the room?
no, she's not. But I think it would be neat, and I'm also, again, just throwing this out there, not to add more things, but like a Spartan Spirit Squad that makes posters and, says our chant at whatever games we have, not necessarily cheerleading, but a Spirit Squad. And it doesn't have to be all crazy. It can just be simple, but just things like that, with Great Hearts opening new campuses within 10-mile radiuses from both ways. When a new campus opens, we lose community members, we lose teachers because it's closer to home, right? So we want to have things that make it special to be a Spartan, like that we have, that keep people here. and like athletics and all of those things, I like, those are some things that were like really like, oh, I want to be a part of that. I want to stay here. Like, we want to keep our people.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the thing we talk about all the time. We are already offering something
I
more
know.
than all the other Great Heart schools.
Yeah.
We, Northern Oaks has the house system, but we now have it that goes up to the upper school. So we already are doing something. And so at the end of the day, if those sort of things that really build community, what people forget about when they decide to leave this community and go to a new Great Heart school, they somehow think that everything they had there, they're gonna have over there. I'll just be honest with you, the first year their Great Heart school opens, first of all, the curriculum is at its very lowest level because you got all these new students who've never experienced it. So if your student is an experienced Great Heart student, they will be bored and frustrated. They'll be frustrated by the behavior of the other students because those students haven't learned how to behave yet. And they'll be frustrated by the fact that I've already done this.
You have to announce that.
And then there will,
I'll make
You
you a
won't
shirt.
like
I'm not trying to sabotage.
We
I'm not
do
trying.
have Persian dance.
I don't want,
already.
I'm not trying to sabotage with it, but the
No,
other
but
thing
it's
is,
the truth.
it takes 3 to 4 years to build all the
We
community
know.
things that
That's
we
what
know.
we wish we knew.
That's why we're on.
Ms. Heifer, what would you offer to families? Because, I mean, seeing the 7th and 8th grade, they have their classes, but 5th and 6th grade have been here for several years. There's a lot of founding families at this campus. What would you say, because middle school is a very crucial time for students, we've noticed, and now they're getting, the 7th and 8th graders are getting to the high school level. What would you tell families that are thinking about leaving Great Hearts to either another school, whether it be another charter school, whether it be another public school? What would you tell them to reconsider leaving Western Hills? What would you tell them that would be unique to compared to everybody else?
I wish they would have come to my high school preview night that only had about 15 people at.
I know.
But
Well, I
yeah.
specifically talk about 5th and 6th grade, right? Because we're in here with 5th and 6th graders, and they're gonna be the 6th and 7th graders. My vision is long-term, right? You know, because we're gonna have that crossroads with a lot of families. They're gonna go in that 7th and 8th grade in just a few short years. What would you tell families, and what are you hearing from families that are actually, you know, have left this past year already or anything like that? What have you found out the main reason why they may be leaving?
The main reason that is parents are being bullied by their children.
Yeah.
Their kid says, I want to go to that school over there, and parents aren't making educational decisions for their children. I can't compete with that. I've had parents come to me and say, would you talk my son into staying? I said, that's not my job, you're the parent. So that's the first one. I think that a lot of parents are bullied by their children. I just want my kid to be happy, and he doesn't like it there. They leave and then they want to come back. It happened all the time at Northern Oaks. Always they wanted to come back.
And I can give my own experience that we had families in Arizona, they left very angrily too. You know, they blamed a lot of issues on teachers or headmasters. And I'm not saying everybody was blameless, right? But instead of sitting down at the table and come to a resolution, no, we're gonna take the easy way out. And then not even a year later, they were back to come back.
No, don't
Because
kill it.
this is what I would tell families. There's a reason why Great Hearts is called Great Hearts. I'm here because I'm fully dedicated to the education of your child. I'm here because I care for your child as a human being. I don't see your child as a money sign. I don't see your child as my way for my school to be known around the world. Because if that is what I do, then I'm in the wrong place. I will call you when I see something that is not right. I will talk to you. I'll talk to your child. I will argue with your child for the benefit of your child. But nowadays, people like to take the easy way out. I could take the easy way out. We all could take the easy way out. I can go work anywhere else. But I'm here because of the kids. I'm here because of this community. I'm here because of Trinette Keffer. Because she inspires me every day so I can inspire your child. And I'm not giving you a propaganda talk. I'm giving you an experience talk right now. I've been in Great Hearts since 2006. And that's why I'm still here. Because I've seen those kids graduate and go to college. And they make something of their lives that I say, I had a little bit of that into their lives. I had a little bit of that, but it's hard work. It is so hard work.
I'd
I'm
like
sorry.
to, I'd
We're
like
getting
to speak
emotional.
on the I'd like to speak, you know, I'm taking off my parent hat now and I'm getting on this side. We have a great school. I'm the registrar and now I'm gonna be moving with the upper school students and be in charge solely for upper school and going into the high school. Not every school no school is perfect. But you think about the cultivation of mine and Mr. Roscoe's children for 4 years. Middle school is hard, and I am here in these hallways, and these kids are kind, and they think of other people, and they put other people first. And when they see bad, they say, Mr. Griffin, go talk to this person. So if your goal is to have a star athlete that's gonna get the money and go to college, then find the school that works for them. But if your goal is to bring up good human beings with big hearts, in a great school with good leadership and good teachers that work really, really hard, that are here till midnight. Mrs. Rye.
I just wanted to add what you just said. The reason we had our son in BASIS, which is very competitive, another charter school. My son was really doing good on whatever he's taught and all that, but he's very competitive, and he used to be very lethargic end of the day with the homeworks and stuff. And when my wife applied for the job here, the reason I chose my son to be here is the mission statement that I read from Great Hearts. You are producing great hearts in the future. And that's all I needed. So just to support you, Great Hearts has its own philosophy, own way of bringing up the kids who are the better leaders of tomorrow.
Yes.
And that's what I believe
And
in.
I want to thank Ms. Collins for bringing her neighbors, and Ms. Dempers for telling her neighbors. That is how our school is going to grow. They're going to look online and say, oh, why'd you get that grade? Oh, why did this teacher leave? But if they have the experience of the families that have actually been here for the 4 years, toughing it out, looking at these kids grow from the bottom up and say, wow, I trust this person. So go ahead and give them the, email address to apply for next year. So we can fill those middle school seats, and your children can have a great community.
Oh, we need to fill you right now.
I know, right? So, I think also to touch on that, what you can tell families that want to stay is that your kids are building friendships.
Yeah, that's what we tell them.
This is something that doesn't happen normally in public school because kids will all start at one elementary and then they'll go to 6 different middle schools and 3 different high schools, and you'll never see those kids again unless you're doing sports or you make the effort. And having a K through 12, that's just something really, really special. It's something that you're gonna want to share with your friends and you're gonna want to share with your neighbors. And I wanted this family to come because I wanted my kids to be around them more. And the other people that we've shared with it, and my niece and nephew and all of that. So you have the opportunity to just build who your kids are around. Like, that's really cool.
Right. Middle school, and I've taught at a public junior high for 10 years, is the hardest age. And this is the age in whether if they feel like this is sink or swim. And if I'm not big dog on campus, I'm a nobody. And that there's a competition to see who's the top dog. This is just not that kind of school. And right now, people are weeding themselves out, and that's okay, because what you want is a beautiful cohort of seniors that your child graduates with. My son graduated with 49 other students, and half of those students came to my house at Christmas time after they had all gone off to college, and they hung out together, no alcohol, nothing else. They had a grand time. They ordered pizza, and then around, I don't know, it was about 11 o'clock at night, they set up somebody's phone and they sang The Minstrel Boy to their headmaster from Northern Oaks. They found out that Mr. Heisman was moving on to start Great Heart School in Louisiana. They're so sad. They've built a relationship with him, and they sang it, recorded it, and then sent it to him. And then they had me come out and take a bunch of pictures of them because they loved that man, and they loved the teachers they had been involved in, and they loved each other because they were brought together through a common desire and interest around community, and they valued that community. I don't care that there was only 49 other students in that, but those are friends for life. A bunch of those boys from that come to my house every Saturday morning, and they go throw football back on the field at Northern Oaks because they just needed to be together. So they're finding ways to build community outside after school, after high school is over. And they're not caught up in a lot of the ick of the world. A lot of them aren't very much involved in social media, enough to the point where they can keep up with each other's Instagram is basically what they say.
Exactly. Yeah, my former Great Heart students that are in the mid-20s up to age of 32, they still keep in touch with each other. They still celebrate milestones together. And it's good to see them all grown up and realizing you're getting old in a while.
I mean, I agree with you. I think our community is like no other. But I think what you three just said there needs to be recorded because only us saw that. And it was from your heart. I mean, the way you were speaking. And I agree with you. I can tell you firsthand. I mean, I came and left and ran back as fast as I could. We did opposite. We started charter, never tried public, left, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm a former public school teacher, so I know what it looks like in the classroom. But this community is so special. It's like no other. And like I said, what y'all just said was so amazing, but like only us in here heard it. Like we need everyone to hear that here because you're right. It is very different. My daughter's opposite. She struggles with math, right? So she's in a special math class. And she was telling me that for the first time ever, that she went to the board to do a problem in this new math class. And her classmates, after she went up and solved it correctly, cheered her on. And I wanted to cry because she's telling me, she's like, Mom, I went up, I had the confidence, I did it. But the fact that they were like, good job, Ariel, like they know that was a lot for her. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting teary-eyed right now because those kids truly care about each other, and that's not something that you get everywhere. It really isn't, especially in 5th and 6th grade. That's not something that
I think I asked that question to hear that answer for everybody to hear in the room, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm biased. I think we're the best Great Heart campus here in San Antonio. And what makes us is very unique is not just the staff, but also the community, okay? And there's still a lot of untapped resources I think we still have to go on. But the progress we've made in the past several years has been phenomenal, and what has kept that on together has been this community. I think we have probably one of the best communities out of any Great Hearts campus, because you see bodies here. And that's why, to be honest with you, I'm invested for the long term, and we travel 30 minutes away. There are 2 other Great Hearts campuses 5-7 minutes away from us, but we choose here because we see the vision at this unique campus and the leadership that's being done here. So that's why I asked that question overall.
Mr. Travis and I, we did the leadership team yesterday, we made a list of some short video topics that we're gonna try to do over the next couple of weeks. He's already put on the calendar. So he's going to corner me, and so we've got to
get it on.
Get on the count. So we're gonna do just little short blurbs and on most of the topics that you've talked about, so that they can be easily passed. Doing a long talk like that, not a lot of people will sit through something like that, but just short little. What is the house system? What should my kid be doing in Lyceum? What is homework club? Those kinds of things that are educational, not only for parents that are here, but for someone else who's looking at the school. We will be doing, I think what we also talked about was offering an open house to prospective parents. Since we are doing ours really early for families who are here, offering that ability, we will for students that do sign up, who do actually enroll and aren't in kindergarten, we will have a shadow day for those students. They will have a shadow day so that they can feel like, okay, I really know what they're gonna be doing here. We're trying to also, as we are bringing in this next 2 weeks, trying to take everybody off the wait list and get them in, giving them tours. Especially anybody who's a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader, so that they really know what it is. They're not a surprise on the first day, and so their first experience is as good as it can be. We spent, the leadership team spent last week on an offsite, spent a lot of time just really thinking visionally and missionally, and Are we meeting what it was that we meant to do in the beginning, and then what do we need to do? We are still struggling as a network to keep the development going as quickly as we're opening schools. And so because it's not all there, your wonderful Jennifer Cape has been working really hard at how do we get the message out? And I said, you find the places and I'll go talk, or we'll make the right flyer for it. So we're basically being our own marketing department right now. And
Would you be open to parent testimonies as well, as far as part of the videos, or at some of those open houses that have respective experience, that have been here maybe for several years? I mean, these guys have, you know, because I think a lot of things is hearing the information from the staff, but also getting the information from the parents as parent-to-parent type of deal.
So one of the things that we are going to be asking people to sign up and be at the table for parents as they come in. Be really helpful for PSO parents to be at the table when our current families sign in, because we have a lot of families who they just kind of got in, and they drop their kids off first day, and they really haven't gotten invested yet, and they might actually be thinking, do I still want to stay? So it'll be good to have positive faces that they meet. And then one of the things that's helpful when we start doing enrollment of our kinder families, actually have to come on campus and do some of the enrollment if we have that. In the past, I've had PSO parents who were just here to meet and greet families as they were first coming in. We'll be doing a new family orientation in May, where we'll need a bunch of parents to come to, who will be able to just meet and greet them at the end of each of the sessions, so that you can say, hey, I'm a parent here, what grade is your kid in, and be their first contact with somebody who can answer some of their questions.
One thing that popped up on my Facebook memories this weekend, and I emailed Miss Kate, was when we were opening this school, Northern Oaks had a video done, and it was for your campus, and you were on there, but it was a student-led tour. It was so great, and it wasn't that long, it was like 4 minutes, but it was so good, and our campus shared it because we were just a foundation at the time, and they were like, if you think you want to go to Western Hills, look at this tour, because, you know, this is an established Great Hearts campus. And it was so cool to see the kids very well spoken, the 2 kids that came out and just showed around the school. I mean, it was really cool. And then you talked, and it was short, sweet, to the point, but like the kids sell it too, and like you said, the parent testimonials, those are all really great things. And our campus, I feel like it's hard because, like you're saying, the parents, some just drop off. So like in the past we had like walk up, pick up, and that's how I met so many people, just standing there waiting for our kid, right? And I know that's not really possible now, the way things are built, but like little things, like maybe instead of coffee with the headmaster, maybe it's like mom, dad coffee or whatever, just so parents can talk. Because when we went to the house festival, it was funny. The kids, like you said, ran off and they were fine. But like, remember we saw some parents didn't know each other, and it's like they don't know what to say or who to talk to because they've never met anyone, and they literally just drop off their kid and drive off. And the people that know each other were like, hey, but then the ones that didn't were kind of just like, you know, and of course, like we want to welcome them, but there has to be like things to. How often does, I mean, PSO, we've told them that they're supposed to do as many grade level get-togethers as possible. Yeah, this year I feel like it's really hard because there's COVID, right? Like people are, I think some people are still nervous and worried or haven't gotten it. Now we got it, and we've been out for 2 weeks, and we're good. So I'm like, hey, let's hang out.
I've got antibodies, you got antibodies.
I'm like, we're cool. So I recovered. No, but like, but really not to worry. These last 2 years are not a fair judgment of any school, of any teacher, because no teacher planned to teach online, and no teacher planned to, like all those things, it's not a fair judgment. But yeah, we need to have like more, like I love the after school half day thing, but then like, so we did that at Monte Vista. We came from Monte Vista, and we had it almost every Friday, and the turnout was huge. But again, it's a different community of families. We were all stay-at-home moms there, so everyone could come. Here we have a lot of working families, so like 4 o'clock is hard because parents might not get off till 5. So like we miss like this big group of people. It's like we need like all these
So,
So many
I
options.
And that's why I'm saying PSO, go for it. Do whatever you think is going to help build that community. I know that Mr. Travis does it's not just a dad's, it is a parent basketball.
That's been
Parent pickup.
amazing.
Parents pickup, yeah.
so a lot of these
Yeah.
events are the same. We do need to do volleyball. We've got faculty ready to lead that one too. I would say it is a lot of y'all and a lot of the same people that have been at the other coffees with the headmasters, which we're so thankful to have a core group of. And that core has been bigger this year in terms of who's volunteering in summers or and lunches and who's joining over the summer this week. And my encouragement is that we would get to pull more people, right? Y'all would be pulling more people here. Hey, I know you don't want to come, but I know that you're new this year. Come to this high school preview night. Come to this coffee with the headmaster. And then maybe next year we can also have it set up to where we have parents who are mentors to new families as well, among other things. But right now it is going to take the whole school, the families who are super involved, diving in.
And then hopefully now we can do spirit nights again.
Yeah.
Where
There's
we're
lots
actually
more
meeting in a
events.
restaurant.
There's lots more events to invite
We
people
haven't been
to.
able to do any of these.
My always hope was that the intramural games were just as much for the kids as they were for the parents, and that the parents are coming out and they're making connections and enjoying, the byproduct of I have to bring my kid to a soccer game, but now I'm going
It's
to
true. I've
have
heard
conversations.
someone scored last weekend, and I heard a bullhorn off the truck and stuff, after somebody scored and stuff like that. And you see parents lined up along their cars and the truck of their beds and everything else. I mean, I have parents that are waiting and watching the soccer clinics, and you see a lot of that community network just with the parents itself. So
I mean, if you wanted to have if it's intramurals, it's 5th and 6th grade, right? So 5th grade parents, we're gonna shout and observe from over here. So, I mean, while they're already here, maybe you put a sign out and you say, just taking advantage of the fact that they're already at it. And then saying, I was trying to think like even at the music concert, if there was, you could even have, 3rd grade parents, Spartan parents over here, and just meet and greet. If you want to meet other 3rd grade parents, here's where they're standing, here's where we're gonna meet each other. You could even do that at an intramural game where you're kind of, I don't know, you put out a pop tent, you put 5th grade, come sit under here. I don't know, that's just to take advantage of the events we've already got going, maybe instead of creating new ones. And just helping to gather people together.
I think the house pride has gone a long way. I can tell you, I have a house Reaper Chief baseball cap that
I think the bottom line of what everyone's trying to get to is just that there's, there's another school opening, I know, off of Wiseman in 1604 this coming year, not Great Hearts. And then there's a Great Hearts opening in Helotes. And so you have to give people a reason to choose this particular campus over another. And we've talked a lot about identity and making Western Hills our own. And so I think those are the things that you need to key in on and focus in on. So when we talk about Lodigo, we talk about Mariachi, I think those are the things that we're trying to say, this is our identity, let's go with this, you have these sorts of programs in place. People are gonna say, well, I wanna go to that school because I want my kid in that program. And I think that at KIPP, you don't get to choose where you go because they offer transportation, but it's the same. Not all campuses are the same. They don't all offer the same, but yet you're queued to a certain school and you don't get to choose which school. So the fact that you get to choose which Great Hearts you want to go to here, but they're not all the same and they don't all offer the same, that needs to be highlighted. People need to understand, you go to this campus, you get this, you go to this campus, you don't get this. So I would say those sorts of things are what need to be highlighted and where we need to kind of say, okay, if this is where we're going to go, then this needs to be our focus. We're going to be the music school, or we're going to be whatever it is we decide. But to be able to set yourself apart and say that I'm willing to pass up 2 other schools to get to this school because it has what I want for my family and for my students.
True, I'm one person. I have sacrificed all kinds of things to be here. I'm 100% in. I need emissaries from within the families to help make a positive community on our Facebook pages. Really, you know, being that person who's willing to say, hey, I don't think that the thing that you're trying to say right now is helpful. Can I take you to, can I talk to you and helping me in a lot of different ways. I think that there is all of this feedback is fabulous. I know that if we don't, my job is to help pace ourselves because I can only do so much. And with the leadership team that we have, like we're putting on an 8th grade play tonight. We have a Fezziwig ball on Saturday. We have intramurals games this week. We have a basketball game tomorrow night against another school. We have amazing things happening right here every single day that is happening outside of just the amazing thing that's happening in every classroom every day. And at some point, I guess what our job is to help highlight all of those things. I'm not a community center. And that I need people to help understand that this is not a one-stop shop. I am not here to fill every family's 100% their needs. And that there are going to be things that families are going to choose to do. Like I hope you choose a church and you're at that and you do those activities there and those bless your families. And then maybe because you've seen that there's archery being offered over there, your kid does that because they've got friends that do that. And then you're building your circle bigger. I don't have the ability to be the one-stop shop. But I think that what we are doing is creating a community of friends who are flourishing together around those things that are timeless. And mariachi bands come and go, and those are great. But the things that we are doing here are going to be lasting. And if that's not valuable to people and all they want is some of those flash bang things, like a cheerleading team and you know, a band that can go to state, then I'm not going to compete with that, and that's okay. And I think that I'm excited about the things that we're doing and what we've got going forward, and we've got so much more that we want to offer our families, and it takes time. So.
I am so sorry to interrupt. I have a student meeting. We missed our meeting.
Okay.
If you can come tomorrow at 8, it's great.
Perfect.
If not,
I'm
let
gonna be
me
here
know.
later on.
Okay,
Anyway.
Just one
okay, so
question.
I'm really sorry. Have a good
One
day,
more question.
everyone.
She's
So good
waiting
evening.
in the back corner.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say, like, I think it's amazing that you've just been so willing and generous to listen to all of our feedback, which we could go on for hours, right? But yeah, I agree with you. Like, definitely, you're not here to fulfill every person's wish and whatnot. But my one, I guess, just I love that our school is like very focused on just being different, you know, and especially like the new technology and like we had mentioned, you know, about social media earlier. For those who don't have social media, because I used to be very involved with like everything, following everything on Facebook, and my Facebook has been hacked for a very long time, and I just have not done what they want me to do to get it fixed. But I'm wondering, would there ever be a possibility for us to have some sort of networking platform that is not Facebook or Twitter or something? Because also, I mean, the reality is like there are a lot of families who don't use Facebook, and it could be an opportunity for I don't know what that would look like. I don't know if like that would involve money, like getting our own app, Great Cards app, to where, you know, and I think that would be a wonderful way for like the parents just be able to network together and just be able to basically like promote why we should stay at Great Hearts, right? But like it could be used for a number of different things as well.
Can I speak on that?
Uh-huh.
So we are creating, you know, behind the scenes, we're working really hard in creating a PSO newsletter. We have a PSO website. It's taken us a little while for it to get, you know, traction. But our ultimate goal, it's a website, it's just for PSO, and it's gonna be all of this, and whatever every other parent just mentioned. But it'll be a newsletter, and it'll be, things that are going on in the school, in upper school, lower school, events. I think what Ms. Gefford just touched on is really important, that yes, having these community events is fun, and everybody's welcome to do that. On the Facebook page or network, I know a lot of these families over here know so many parents because they've been here from the very beginning. So that can be a simple text message, whatever it is, to do that. But as far as for parents that don't have the social media, that's what that would be. Would be a website, a web page. It could be linked on the newsletter because most of the information comes from the school newsletter. But it would be on there, and you click it directly to the web page, and on there you would be able to see a newsletter for the week or 2 weeks, the month, whatever it is that we're gonna decide on ultimately. But it would be on there, that way you know exactly what's going on in the community level. Obviously, we wanna make sure to direct parents to the newsletter that comes directly from the school. Because the Facebook pages, those are unofficial, those are just, like Ms. Claudia just mentioned about homework and things like that. But for official information, look for the newsletter, and then in the newsletter, you would be then directed to the PSO website, where you can kind of get involved in community events. Hey, we're hanging out here this time, or basketball teams, soccer teams, whatever it is that's going on. And I think that will be a really key in promoting community and really connecting with families that are new. Or inaugural families, so we can kind of, hey, I'm experiencing this, did you ever experience that from the beginning, such and such. But that would be something to look out for, and that's something that we're really working on to make sure it's what is needed for the community. And it's beneficial that you guys understand what is going on. Hey, we're doing this fundraiser or whatever it is. Spirit Night is happening here. Because ultimately we want to kind of get away from the Facebook pages, just because we do struggle a lot with the negativity. It's been pretty good right now, but there are different things at the school that it's growing right now that they're still working through. And during those phases, Facebook, social media tends to be pretty negative, and so we're working closely with some of the other campuses, and it took them about 3 years to get away from Facebook and just focus on the PSO webpage. And that's our goal, that's our ultimate goal, is to get everyone like yourself that does not have Facebook for whatever reason. You still get that information, you're still able to connect, you're still able to build community and fellowship through that platform.
What's the timeline of the newsletter?
So we're working on
I think it's a great idea. It's the first time I'm hearing about it. That's
yeah, we're just, Lisa and I have been working for this particular reason. It's mainly we're hoping February, March. We're like at the final stages of it. And it's really, like I said, it's just gonna be a page of community events, what's going on in upper school, what's going on in lower school. And the reason why I don't have upper school kiddos, but the reason I'm here is just to kind of hear feedback from you all. And really tie in and hone in on what you guys are wanting from us as a community, which includes you guys as well. You guys are part of that as well. And so we are really wanting it to get it out by the end of February. That way we can really.
Do you think we can announce it at the February 8th?
Yeah, for sure. We're working on all of that. That's all.
We're still having that, right?
Yes, all of that's still happening. But that'll be something where we can list events like the PSO meetings happening, or we're having a fiesta meeting here, or soccer teams, great, whatever it is, tryouts, whatever, that kind of stuff. But it'll mainly be to build community, to build fellowship with all of the community here.
I agree what you said. We're potentially missing so many families who just are not even on social media. Like they don't even get the opportunity to see that.